All right, let's talk about cybersecurity, because the game has really changed. We're not just talking about stolen passwords anymore, not even close. Today, we're diving into a whole new breed of threat, where identity itself is the weapon. And based on what we're seeing, these attacks are getting incredibly personal, super automated, and frankly, a lot more sophisticated. And this quote, man, it just hits the nail on the head. It's not about a single break-in anymore. Attackers are now chaining identities. Think of it like they're connecting the dots between all the different apps, tools, and vendors you use. This creates this sort of hidden, persistent threat that's way, way harder to spot and kick out.
So you might be wondering, what's really driving this shift? Well, it boils down to one powerful word: automation. Yeah, forget the old days of trying to trick someone into giving up their mother's maiden name. We are now in a totally new era of massive automated identity exploitation. And you can see the difference clear as day right here. In the past, an attack was often a slow, manual process. Get a password, get in, get out. A one-and-done kind of deal. But today, it's a completely different beast. These attacks are automated, they are lightning fast, and they are not just after a password. The prize now is your entire digital identity, which they use to get continuous, ongoing access.
Okay, so this idea of chaining identities sounds pretty serious. But how does it actually work? What are attackers really doing? Well, it all comes down to exploiting that complex, tangled web of services that we all use every single day. So let's break down their playbook. Now, get ready for this number because it's a big one: 79%. That's how much an organization's chance of getting breached goes up if their identity tools are fragmented. When different systems don't talk to each other, that creates huge gaps. And you can bet that's exactly where attackers love to hang out. And this isn't just theory, folks. We're seeing this play out in the real world right now. First, you've got relentless campaigns targeting the software tokens we use for authentication. Then, a breach at one of your vendors can instantly become your identity crisis. Just look at the mess with Volvo's HR provider. Third, you get this domino effect, where one connected system fails and takes everything else down with it, like we saw with those European airport disruptions. And to top it all off, AI is now churning out phishing emails that are scarily realistic, and it's doing it at an industrial scale. And listen, this isn't just about human accounts anymore. The real new frontier is weaponizing machine identities. I'm talking about the credentials for all the service accounts and APIs that make our digital world actually work. And here's the really scary part. A lot of these machine identities don't have that extra layer of security, multi-factor authentication. This makes them just low-hanging fruit for malware that's now smart enough to hunt specifically for these keys to the kingdom. So this all leads to a really crucial point. The bad guys aren't just going after your employees' logins anymore. They're going bigger. They're targeting the very heart of our security, the identity infrastructure itself. I want you to just let that sink in for a second. The very systems that we designed to protect identities are now being turned into weapons against them. That's a total game changer. It means we have to rethink our entire approach to defense. And believe me, this isn't some far-off, futuristic problem. Just imagine what can pop up in a single month. You can have major flaws in core systems from absolute giants like Cisco, Oracle, and Microsoft. And that's on top of ongoing vulnerabilities in critical tools like HashiCorp Vault. We are not talking about small bugs here. These are foundational cracks in the very tools we trust to keep us safe. Okay, so we've painted a pretty serious picture. But it's not hopeless. The big question is, what do you do about it? How do you fight back? Well, it's time to get into the new playbook for defenders. This new playbook really has 5 core moves. First, you've got to deploy continuous threat detection, because these attacks are always on campaigns now. Second, you have to unify human and machine identities. You got to see them as two sides of the same coin, otherwise attackers will just slip right through the cracks. Third, automate your response. When something bad happens, your reaction has to be instant. Speed is everything. Fourth, harden your foundational systems with a zero-trust mindset. Basically, you have to assume you're already compromised and verify absolutely everything. And finally, number 5, you have to build AI-resilient education to get your people ready for the next wave of super convincing deepfakes and phishing attacks. Putting this playbook into action isn't just about plugging the holes we see today. It's about building a fundamentally stronger, more resilient security posture for the future. This really is the new standard for what resilience is going to look like in 2026. So, what's the bottom line here? It's that identity attacks are evolving faster than ever. The organizations that are going to thrive, the ones that will actually be secure, are the ones who are adapting right now. They're the ones unifying their defenses and automating their responses. They're not just surviving, they're actually setting the new standard for what security looks like.
So I'll leave you with this one thought to chew on. Every single identity in your world, human or machine, is a potential doorway for an attacker. So you have to ask yourself, is your organization's identity a fortress? Or is it the next weak link just waiting to be broken?